but is this an actual problem in our society?
It's a major problem. And, you know, Speaker Johnson has been talking about those maybe deadbeat folks that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less. And if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I got to tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women.
So this month of June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And on that note, I think this is a great segue into the topic of today's video. I really think that the single worst thing that's ever happened to men's mental health, and this is just my own experience and what I've seen from countless others as well, is the pressure to live up to traditional male gender roles of being some alpha male provider in a world and economy where that simply isn't a viable path for everyone anymore. I am all for equality and dismantling gender roles. We've made a lot of progress in terms of dismantling gender roles for women. Women are no longer imprisoned by traditional gender role expectations like being a stay-at-home mom or housewife before they're 25, and that's great. Obviously, that life path isn't for every woman. And those of you who watch me know that I'm all about doing what you want, regardless of what society thinks. But why is it that men are still expected to be imprisoned by traditional male gender roles and no one ever bothers to question it or think about it? I mean, just consider this. Working is a traditional male gender role, the same way cooking and cleaning is a traditional female gender role. So if women aren't expected to cook and clean anymore, why the hell should men still be expected to work? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Young men are literally just demonized no matter what you do. When you do go out and work hard and try to get a job, it's a problem because you're denying opportunities for women to get jobs. I mean, you guys remember all this. It wasn't even all that long ago when they were all complaining that all CEOs are men and all the opportunities are only going to men, and we need to create more job opportunities for women. We all remember that. That wasn't that long ago. Well, the stay-at-home sons are literally doing God's work when it comes to creating more job opportunities for women. You would think based on the narrative just a few years ago, we'd all be celebrating this. This is a tremendous, monumental milestone in the quest for gender equality, right? And yet, no, you literally get equally demonized for the exact opposite reason too. If you go out, follow the traditional path, become super ambitious, hardworking, and rich, you're evil because you're taking away positions of power from women. So now Gen Z men, being the highly adaptable and smart giga-chads they are, have literally just done what you've been asking men to do for decades, give up their positions of power. And now, after they did exactly what you ask, you complain about that too. You complain about that with equal fervor, in fact. I don't know, man. There's just literally no winning with this hypocritical modern society. So this is a meme right here that just perfectly encapsulates the situation that young men find themselves in. So you got a guy riding on an elephant through the city with his wife on the elephant's back as well. And the people of the city look at this and they say, how cruel. Look at how much weight they're putting on that poor elephant. So then he gets off the elephant and lets his wife ride it alone. The people of the city then say, what an inconsiderate fool. What kind of man lets his wife ride an elephant alone? Okay, so then he gets on the elephant himself and has his wife walk beside the elephant by herself on the ground. And the people of the city say, what a selfish man. He should be letting his poor wife ride the elephant. Okay, so final effort. He decides that they should just both then get off and walk normally beside the elephant without riding it at all. And the people of the city then say, what an idiot. Why are they wasting their energy walking when you have a free elephant you could ride? Literally, no matter what you do, society has a problem with it. Society complains about it. Society is a massive, sensitive, entitled snowflake that gets offended at literally everything. It's so funny how all the insults they hurl at Gen Z are really just a massive, hilarious projection of their own self-image. Hey guys, just wanted to say thank you all so much for this absolutely incredible, rapidly growing community we're building here. If you're new here and enjoying this content, definitely consider subscribing for more epic takedowns of this stupid modern society. Okay, so anyways, going back to the issue of mental health here, I really think the main reason men's mental health is suffering so much now is because of this stupid, outdated expectation for every guy to become some super rich alpha male provider. I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's what you want to do, by all means go for it. I promise you, I will not try to stop you. But they literally try to force everyone to work, to climb the corporate ladder, to go to college, and they hardcore shame you for not wanting to follow their archaic, outdated gender role expectations for men. We dropped traditional gender roles for women a long time ago, and rightfully so. And now it's time we ended them for men too. Just like being a housewife or stay-at-home mom isn't for every woman, being a corporate 9-to-5 wage slave provider isn't for every man either. We've encouraged young women to take their time to find themselves while they're young and explore the world. And again, I'm all for this. We used to expect every woman to get married before 20, and we can all agree now that this expectation is legitimately insane and outdated. And it's equally insane to expect every young man to move out in this horrible economy, get some high-paying career, and make a ton of money, especially in this horrible economy and job market, you know? Like, young men should also be allowed to have extra time to chill, enjoy life, and find themselves too. This expectation to be immediately thrown into the corporate meat grinder and live on your own the second you turn 18 in this god-awful job market and rental economy, this is just totally outdated trash expectations. Now, those of you who follow me know that I've traveled a lot. And a lot of my experiences and perceptions that I express on this channel are based on the more global, international perspective that I've accumulated over the years. And I'm just going to say that the term stay-at-home son is obviously going to be totally new and foreign, especially to your delusional American boomer parents who think it's still 1960. But in literally just about every other country in the world, living with your parents for an extended period of time is totally normal and acceptable. And I would say the results in the end are even way better. During my travels, I met a 30-year-old Korean guy who became quite a good friend. When he finished Korea's mandatory military service for men, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do in life just yet, so he spent the next 7 years traveling the world, living in cheap hostels, even sleeping in the wilderness sometimes. After he came back from about the ages of 25 to 30, he simply lived with his parents, the definition of a stay-at-home son long before Gen Z made it popular and cool. After staying with his parents a few years, he finally figured out what he wanted to do. Just a simple government job. Unlike delusional American asshole boomer parents, his parents understood and gave him the time and space he needed to find himself, and eventually he did get a decent government job and moved out on his own terms when he was ready. Now, when I compare this to the stupid, outdated American boomer logic of kicking your kids out at 18, I realize how much worse he would have been screwed over if he grew up in America. First off, he'd be pressured into going to college and accumulating a bunch of debt to study something he doesn't even want to study. Then he would have been pressured into getting exploited for shareholder profits, working a BS job for BS wages, just to be forced to pay ridiculously absurd rent prices to predatory landlords. He would have been 6 figures in debt before even earning a single dollar. And even if he eventually got a job, which is a far from a guarantee at this point, he'd never make enough to even pay off the debts he was forced to accumulate. So by being a stay-at-home son, you're probably doing the best thing imaginable for your mental health. You're living life at your own pace, rather than following society's outdated, archaic expectations for young men. You're refusing to be exploited for shareholder profits or by predatory landlords or student loans. And I'm not saying you should never contribute to society. What I am saying, however, is that it's on society to give you a reason and incentive to contribute. And right now, it ain't doing that. $7.25 per hour is not a good incentive. $2,000 a month rent prices is not a good incentive. $50,000 of student loan debt, not a good incentive. contribution has to go both ways. And society isn't contributing jack to you anymore, so you don't owe it to society to contribute back. It seems as if millions of young men have woken up to this, and just as young women have every right to choose not to be a housewife or stay-at-home mom, we have every right to choose not to be a corporate wage slave being exploited for shareholder profits as well. And I know some people are going to pop in the comments being like, but you're going to be a burden to your parents. So for those comments, I'm just going to leave you with this quote from my good friend Cyclops. It's not your fault that you are a burden to your parents. That is a burden they signed up for and requested for that they didn't have to. You didn't consent to being born. You didn't ask to be born, request them, or this world. Telling you are a burden to your parents is narcissistic gaslighting and blame shifting. They are trying to narcissistically scapegoat you for their dumbass decision to have kids they knew they couldn't afford and didn't have shit for before they even had them. And they automatically put the kid in a bad position for no real good justifiable reason at all. You don't owe your parents, and you are not obligated to love or tolerate them if they are not genuinely good people. In fact, there is so little incentive to work right now that even a billionaire capitalist CEO like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or John D. Rockefeller themselves would never bother working in an economy like this one. We go more in depth about this in this video right here. Check it out. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.